All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm in my pantry again today. I know this is kind of like a second location for a lot of people who listen to the show regularly. I usually have sort of an office area, but when that's in use by other members of my household, I kind of move into this sweaty, tight space full of food boxes. But it actually sounds good. Like I genuinely enjoy the sound of the pantry. I don't know if it's I don't have the the audio knowledge to know whether it's because it's bouncing off cereal boxes or whatever, but it usually works out all right. So um,
Yeah.
I'm here with two people who are new to the show, and actually, the music is fairly new to me as well. Um, I often ask listeners kind of who they want to hear locally on the podcast, and a lot of the time it's artists that I'm familiar with or people who've been on the show before. But I find that it's kind of one of the main ways I discover new stuff, new to me stuff anyway, is by just sort of putting it out there and saying, who do listeners want to hear about locally. And so you were someone that came up repeatedly the last time I asked this question. So I'm glad that we've been able to connect because I have a lot of questions about it, but I've listened to the record. I really like the record. And I think we can kind of get into what I like about it. But to start everything off, if the two of you want to introduce yourselves and what it is you do with this project, as far as what you do with the music and sort of where it's coming from, what the background is, that would be great.
Yeah, well, I'm Antonio Mazza, and I write and produce and perform everything. And I mixed and mastered it and all that, but with the help of my sister here, Giovanna, who performed the vocals.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Giovanna Mazza. All that I contribute to this is singing. I'm basically, like, the way I like to look at it is I'm just another instrument that he just plays with. So
Okay.
it's fully him, just the voice comes out of me. But yeah.
Cool. And like when this was first recommended to me too, people were saying, "Oh, this is an electronic artist you check out." And I know that electronic music is such a wide umbrella genre at this point in time. There's so many offshoots and subgenres, but and what you're doing clearly has electronic sounds and electronic influences, but it seems to me to be much more than that. I mean, there's like definitely kind of prog rock leanings, and there's I mean heavier stuff. There's it all kind of flows together as one big piece of music. And so, how do you define this? I mean, it seems like it's a little all over the place, and not in a bad way. As far as styles.
Yeah, like I kind of just my quick like thing when I have to tell people is I kind of just say it's like synth-based rock music, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't like I'm not too like knowledgeable or keen on all these crazy subgenres, like
There's so
how they
many.
all like so I don't really yeah, I don't know. I just say it's kind of like electronic. It's always going to be somewhere on the spectrum of electronic music and like I guess progressive rock, and
Okay.
it'll always flow somewhere in that spectrum. And it's like a Venn diagram, and like they intersect, and my music is I guess somewhere in the middle.
Well, that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
too, and both of those genres have kind of tendencies to go for kind of soundscapey stuff too, right? I mean that sort of ties them together, especially in longer form pieces that it's all connected. I mean, there's always those elements of sort of almost relaxed. I don't want to say noise because it's melodic and musical, but these kind of bridges from track to track. And I think that prog rock and electronic music both sort of share that the ability to go from something that's upbeat and fast and loud and heavy to just kind of melding into something else that has a very different emotional feeling to it.
Yeah, I guess when I'm actually making music, I'm like trying my hardest to not think of genre and whatnot, and I'm fine with if someone says even as a shot at me that it sounds all over the place. I'm fine with that. I'd rather be all over the place and be able to express like everything I wanted to express than confined to just like no, this is just straight up prog math rock or whatever, or this is just this is down tempo BPM, like minimal electronic, like all these subdivisions of genres just kind of stresses me out to think about. So I'm fine with being all over the place, whether it's a good or bad thing. I feel like it kind of have to be to say exactly what I want to say or tell the story how I want to tell the story.
Well, it's often the worst question I have to ask too, because I think a lot of people are in the same boat where they feel like there's
Yeah.
so many subgenres, and all the subgenres have their own subgenres, and everything is post this and something core, and it's just like it's too much.
Yeah, and I don't listen to music that way. I'm not like looking for a specific genre, or on my playlists are kind of crazy, because like someone would go nuts listening to my playlists because it jumps from like Turkish folk music to like Venetian snares to like it's kind of yeah, I don't listen to music like obsessing over like certain genres that way, so
Okay.
I wouldn't make music that way then.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think just in listening to the stuff too, that it is influenced by a lot of different things. Even though there are some strong, certain genres that kind of come to the forefront. How long has this project been around? How long have you been doing this? And how long have you been collaborating? I mean, usually when you have people who are, relatives, family members, they tend to have collaborated for a long time, whether it's on a formal basis or not. But have the two of you been working together for a long time at making some kind of music?
No.
Really?
No, it was like we haven't worked together on anything, but we're just extremely close. And when I started making when I started working on this project, I knew I needed a voice, and she just kind of surprised me out of nowhere that she could sing, and I was like, okay. That's it. But sorry, you sound like you wanted to say something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say there's a decent age gap between us, and I feel like my brain has been a collaborative project with Tony.
Yeah.
Like, what has formed me has been collaborative. He's very much so has had a massive influence on everything that I've become, and I'm so like grateful for that. But yeah, I guess our whole life story has been collaborative.
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, it was kind of, I always liked singing, but I was kind of quiet about it. And then I did a school play, and he was in the audience of the school play and was like, oh, damn, you can actually sing. Okay, I might take that to my advantage and figure out if he could do something.
Yeah, at that moment, I was like, oh, okay, awesome. I could take down my Kijiji ads looking for vocalists. Like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah. That's nice to have, right? Nice to have someone that you already know, and you obviously already have a connection with. What was it like, I guess, for you to hear his stuff for the first time then? I mean, when you were kind of whether it was on purpose or accidentally ended up as part of this project, what was your sort of first impressions of the music? Like, was it something that you would listen to?
Because I'll say off the bat, for me, actually, this was a big plus side to having her be able to sing, is I think she was one of the only people that I would be comfortable with enough with sharing my original demos for this project. Like, it was terrifying me to know that I'd have to go to a stranger and be like, this is my ridiculous project with my ridiculous vocals on it. Can you try to make but yeah, sorry, I just hijacked you there.
Well, so I specifically remember before listening, I mean, we live in the same house, so I've been hearing these like guitar riffs like for the longest time ever, just him going like over and over. But I remember the first time I got a good taste of the music, he just sat me down and got me to read through the lyrics, and he asked me what I thought of the story. And I remember being like, I mean, at the time I was like 15, and I was like, I know exactly what's going on. And I now understanding the story, I clearly had no idea, but I think that's what is like so beautiful. So the lyrics were my first taste, and honestly, like the version of the music that you hear now compared to the version it was when we first put down the vocals, like it's leaps and bounds different. And my brother being the way he is I felt like I almost heard like a new version of the music every 6 months. And
cool.
we'd go for a drive, and he'd be like, hey, let's play the album. And I'd be like, okay, where did that go? And now there's this. And it just like, it kept on like rebirthing. But this, and I'm so happy it did, because I think the final result is just like, it's nuts. It's so awesome. But yeah, I guess that was my first taste of kind of feeling it out. And I loved it, like, absolutely. Like I said, our tastes are pretty similar, so it wasn't like, oh my god, what the heck are you making me do? But yeah, there was some vocal harmonies though that definitely was hard to get in my brain, but I'm really happy that we still did it and that it came out like how it did. But yeah.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like that you both obviously you mesh well musically. I mean, it kind of comes through on the record. I'm not sure if that was through multiple takes or if it's something that you just click, through blood relations or whatever. But yeah, it works. I was going to ask though about the story. I mean, this is a concept album, right? So what is the background behind the record?
Well, it started like God, I don't even want to say how many years ago now, but I was always constantly since uh like 18 years old about like seriously working on music, but this was kind of like the first thing that I was like, okay, I got to really put something legit out there. And it kind of started with like this story I started writing um around 2016, I think. And so the story came first, and it was just inspired by being like out at the cabin, and I was like this, out in Gimli,
Okay.
staring out at the lake that like we've always gone to every summer, and uh just out of nowhere, like this story started blossoming about this girl having this supernatural encounter and wanting to like kind of like mythologicalize the town sort of. And I kind of came up with like, what if there's this myth of like this creature that lives out in Lake Winnipeg, and just kind of like this really romantic thought of like, what if there's more to this? Like, what if there's I don't know. I just always feel like this interesting energy out there. So I
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to project a story to it, and kind of, yeah. So I made this. So it started with this story, and this story kind of, before any of the music was written, this story kind of like blossomed and spiraled and tangented over the course of like a year, I think.
Okay.
Just like, and when I say story, I just mean like fucking chicken scratch, like mad
Yeah,
chicken
yeah.
scratch
Like
on
broad strokes
pages
of
of
the idea. Yeah.
paper. You like, or sprawled across like 2 or 3 cell phones, like notes apps, just like. And then I was finally like, all right, I got to do something with this. So I started to just like, I picked one part of it and said, okay, this is where I'm going to start, and start putting music to it.
Cool. Well, one thing I wanted to ask too is I've always like I'm someone who listens to music. I'm very old fashioned in the sense that I listen to physical media. I listen to records, tapes, CDs, kind of exclusively. I don't really understand streaming, and I'm trying to avoid it. And I know I do a podcast. It kind of sounds ridiculous that I'm not into streaming, but I just like I prefer it just the kind of the old fashioned way, just sort of habit. And so, I mean,
Yeah, me
for
too.
me, the idea of listening to something from start to finish that is a full concept record and is intended to be listened to that way, it's great. I love the idea of being able to sit down and listen to something, from the very beginning to the very end. But we're in an era where that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you probably know that people who are checking out your stuff are going to be listening to it piecemeal. So
Yeah.
how does that affect the kind of creation of it, knowing that, you can't count on someone necessarily listening from the very beginning to the end and getting sort of the whole experience of something that's intended to be a story?
Yeah, well, it didn't affect the creation of it at all, because I was just like dead set. I was like, this is just the way it has to be. And again, like, in order to like just even flesh out the story, it had to like have those, crazy long interludes and stuff, because like those were there because like maybe I scrapped a lyric. So it's like, well, if that lyric's not there, I have to be able to tell that lyric somehow. So I would add like another minute of music that somehow replaces that lyric. So it was like, it didn't affect it at all. It was more like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I love all kinds of music, and all music like has its place. Like I love
Sure.
3-minute pop songs. Like we were just talking about like how big of an influence like the Nelly Furtado, like Timberland songs were to me. I love those songs to death. So like I'm not turning up my nose to like pop music or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm just such like, I think the things that had the biggest impact on me were like the albums that really just felt like more than just music to me. Like something about like King Crimson's Red was like, it's more than music. It's like such an experience to listen to from beginning to end. Or like, you know, certain concept albums like that really almost start to like when the story of it is so intense, it starts to like bleed into real life. And I think that was probably the biggest influence for me. It was like I wanted to make something that somehow bled into real life a bit. So that it was just super important to me to make it that way. And for better or worse, I just decided to accept my fate and accept that like this is the hill I'm gonna die on. And you know, if people are gonna listen to like just Luna Moth, that whatever, I mean, that's fine. But they also I guess part of me who still, you know, really loves pop music, you know, subconsciously that will always like spill into the music. So when I make a song, like there's songs like Metroxylon can be listened to as a, you know, a great 3.5 minute song, or Luna Moth I think is only like 2 minutes. And so my influence of really just enjoying, you know, simple music is going to find its way in there no matter what. But I knew like as a whole, like, no, I gotta do this thing as a whole. And the closest it came to influencing it, I think, came to like the final days before releasing it. I originally, actually, this was because of Giovanna. My idea was I was going to only release the 40-minute piece, like the whole thing, and then just release just like Metroxylon as a single, Luna Moth as a single, and maybe Entropy as a single. I can't even remember. And Giovanna was like, no, like you gotta have the whole thing like split up, like you, because she was worried that like, oh well, no one, if they don't listen to the full 30-40 minute thing, then they're not going to get the experience of the interludes. And
and like,
and she likes the interludes more than the songs. So
well, no, I love all of it, but yeah, like those, I personally like when it comes to my listening taste, like those interludes of just like really, it's just heavy and they're so intense. I love that kind of stuff. So I was like, I can totally see people favoring those tracks. So I'm like, you can't not let people get like have the choice to just listen to that. I love those parts of the album.
Is this something that can work live? Like, has that been?
Well,
yes.
That's my next project, is trying to, like, right away when I released it, I immediately felt like this, I guess, like, I don't know what to say, like immediate anxiety about like, okay, I gotta to perform this live, I'm gonna have to have a live drummer, live bass, like at least the one synth player, then maybe me on guitar, and then maybe me on some synths, and that kind of like crippled me, because that's a big endeavor to like start hiring musicians, and we got to get together and practice. And then, but like now, again, this is Giovanna's influence. She's like, you don't need all that. Just set up your laptop, play guitar alongside. So, you know, and she'll sing. So like, I'm strongly considering doing something like that. But again, you know, I guess in some ways I am old school, where it's like, no, if there's well, they're not live drums, like they're made to sound like live drums,
right.
If they're, you know, those drums are there, I gotta have a live drummer, like, or, you know, if there's live bass, I gotta have a live bass player. So I guess, you know, I'm kind of old school in a sense that that's what I kind of thought, like, you know, I had to do. But, you know, I mean, so many people are just playing stuff off laptops. Like, it's, I'm growing to accept it.
And I think there's like an aspect of Luana Moth that, like, at this beginning part of the career, just playing it on a computer can kind of, we can use it to our advantage, because I look at it like very much so as a story. I think it's like so theatrical, and I guess just because I have a little bit of a history in like acting and whatnot, and I'm like, if we don't, like, we can make this equally as interesting just as bodies on stage, like even as me as a performer, like we can add the whole spectacle like in a different dimension. But I'm so excited to do it one day. I mean, I do it in my bedroom all the time, but
well, that was kind of my next question, is the performance of it, because it's a story, and because it's a concept, and because it's this, you know, larger piece of music rather than just a set list of songs, right? would you want to have some kind of visual elements to it as well that tell the story? I mean, I know this is all like future, prospecting or whatever, but yeah, like, would that be part of it?
Yeah, for sure. I've like thought of on a small scale, if I was to just like hit like whatever stage I can in Winnipeg like right away, I would at least even just like hire a couple dancers like to just do something interpretive, or someone who could rig together maybe some like just video synth on like a backdrop behind me to whatever. But then on a larger scale, like if I was told like you have a couple dollars to spend on this, I would really strongly consider like working with an animator or something to really bring to life the story, and have that play while we perform, I guess. And
that'd be cool.
Something like that. Yeah, for sure. Or even like, I mean, strangely enough, like so many people have come back to me saying that it gives them like Cirque vibes, like Cirque du Soleil. So like that would be crazy to just do something like, obviously Cirque is massive, but like
but something along those lines with that kind of performance.
Some kind of interesting performance art-ish thing alongside it would be cool. And then I wouldn't feel so bad about not having a live drummer and a live bass, and having, a 9-person band up on stage with me.
Yeah. Where can people find this right now? I mean, I'm sure that at this point it's probably on all the streaming services and whatnot, but what's the best way for someone who's hearing you for the first time to track down your music and also to keep up with what you're doing, as far as maybe potentially doing a show down the line, or any new music you might have coming out in the future?
For sure, it's up on all streaming platforms, like everything. I seem to be most using Instagram, so I think that's probably the best way to keep in touch with what I'm doing. And also, I would say pay attention to YouTube. I just started a YouTube channel, and there's only one video, but I plan on doing stuff that will be like snippets of what a live show might be like. I'm gonna do like some like just like live synth perform, well, not like live like out, but like set up 4 or 5 synths and just jam, like, and I'm looking to post like stuff like that on YouTube.
Cool.
I like the idea of YouTube because it's like I don't have to worry about time constraints and stuff. Like
there's not like a 1 minute long
limit. Like I love the hell out of like TikTok and stuff, but like like I just don't know what I would actually post on it. And even Instagram too can be like, I was fighting, like I wanted to post something on the stories, and I hate the little like interruptions, like if you do a thing and it's like it kind of chooses to cut out like a second or two here or there, like in the little like progress bar, and then it stops, and then
it jumps, it has that little skip.
Kind of drives me a little nuts. So yeah, but like to keep in touch on what I'm doing, for sure, Instagram and YouTube probably. And my music, if you want to hear it, it's up pretty much everywhere. I've listened to it. I think it sounds best on probably Spotify, but like Spotify will have it like for sure how I intended, like the full 40-minute thing, and it does the gapless playback fine. And
okay. Yeah, that's important, I guess, right? If someone's going to be listening to the whole thing start to finish. Awesome. Well, is this is it going to be released physically at all? Is that something you've even thought of, or is that just not in the cards in this day and age? And I'm just old.
I'm thinking of I've experimenting with like mastering it to tape. I've done a couple copies. Like I got to work on like the EQing would be quite different. So it like really is like actually remastering it, like like changing my whole master chain and everything, and then bouncing it to tape, and it sounds really cool. It needs a little work, but I might do that. Probably would just be something like that, like just tape, something I could do on my own.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.